Carl, in the beginning when he arrived, we picked him up from the airport. These days he needs to find his own way on the train. We dump him in any hotel in Oslo because I've got a quite good database of hotels that I've visited. But he always started with, we are taking Carl a little bit for granted. Okay, this is also a man that you are taking for granted. Okay, his skills are worldwide respected, by top players and federations, and Norway cannot praise him enough and cannot be thankful enough to have him around. So please, I know he's very busy, keep pulling his arm because he is an expert in everything that's got to do with technology and measuring players, making them better technique-wise to become better all-round players. He's a dear friend of mine, he's a great family man, and you're all very lucky to have him. Thank you, Øivind, for being in my life.
Yeah, I'm crying inside, Carl. I'm crying. Okay. Guys, let's have some fun. While I'm here, I will tell you a little bit about that. But, it's really been, my father told me to be an auditor, like he was. He was smoking 40 a day and sitting in an office. And I started that study, and, then things happened in my life, so I picked up tennis, and I've been on the court for 40 years, like you know. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I would talk about, 40 years, what have happened? Is there anything that have been different? I would talk about, a few of my tips for the ones that I'm working with on a daily basis. I always try to give them a little bit of experience, because a theory is a theory, but, if you tried out different theories, you know what's working and what's not working. The quality part. It's, what is quality? We're going to talk and reflect a little bit about quality. And of course, we are going to talk about communication skills. And then ball control, because, we have a tendency, and I have translated quite a few books from ITF, and one word that was not really there, and not there, too often, it's ball control. It's all about power. It's all about, and I say this, when kids look at me and I talk about control with gray hair, they say, they fall asleep, they say, my God, it's no fun. I want to have fun. And the reason, these days that you pick up a racket, and what does it normally say here when it's hanging in the shop? Does it say, this will give you a lot of control? Or does it say it gives you power? So power is selling, control is not selling. But in real life, if I take this racket that have a lot of power, what do you think people will do? I give it to someone that have an IQ of 100. Maybe you have more, but let's say you have 100. Immediately, when you take the racket and say power, you are down to 50. Because what do people do when they start using a powerful racket? They start to swing harder. My goodness, what do you have to do? If you are on the court with a powerful racket, what can you do? You can slow down and start to control the bloody ball. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ball control. But watch this, okay? I found this clip, but it's not the oldest clip that I remember, because when I was young on black and white TV, I saw this. Trim foreldre. I should probably do this more. But this was like, and see the guy on the left, that's me in a few years. But look at, the footwork, my goodness. And look at that. My color, huh? Look at that. Nice tie, everything. But look and see what we now look at, the high intensity. Look at this here. Okay, this is, oh my goodness, this is a difference, huh? This is what the fitness industry had taken from the trim foreldre to fancy fitness, high intensity, let's go. Yeah. We can watch this at 10 more minutes. But then, when is this clip from? How long is this clip from? Is this 40 years back? You hope? We hope it's 40 years ago. You can watch the rackets and you can see that it's no wooden rackets. So I'm not telling you anything. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that we have to think. We have to think. And I will make you think to see what can we do for the next 40 years to make sure that we meet here again. Maybe not me, but some of you. And we look back and say, hey, we are adjusting to the time we're living. But I will come back to this. All right, so today there is a memorial service for a guy that was the reason why I'm here. Hilton Head Island, he died a few months ago, but they have a memorial now before the conference there. And this guy changed my life, because I met him in New York during my studies, and I said, no, I'm not going to be like my father, I want to be like this guy. You know, I'm on the right. It's me on the right, you see that? You know, I was actually quite thin when I was young. You heard a story about my weight? I was thin, then suddenly fat. And I was perfect for 15 minutes. The problem was I was all alone. No one has seen that when I was perfect. But I can assure you that 15 minutes, I was perfect. But this guy, Dennis, you know, he changed my life. Because I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be on the court and help people improve. So a few years later, this was back when I was then working with him, 15 years later, working with him, running his operation in Lakeland, Florida. And then, of course, if you look at what he did for tennis, was so many things. He taught thousands of coaches how to be good on the court. So So we made a film, Feeding Frenzy, Fast Feeding Frenzy, 93. It's a bestseller. It's really good. So we did a few things, and he made it fun. He said that here's Bruce the breakdancer. Now here's the Machine Gun Mike. He was feeding. And then it's, you know, we had fun. No. Okay. Cool Kevin. And of course, if you are a technologist, you don't have to do anything. You can be on the court. So we had so much fun. And this guy, 30 years ago, look at this clip. Okay. Just watch my volley here. I'm on the right. Look at that. Look at that. Almost perfect weight. And here I am. Look at that backhand volley. No, a little bit of applause, please. I need that, you know, for that backhand volley. My goodness. Can you believe? You see that? So we did this movie, and it was feeding. I made another feeding movie after that. You've probably seen a little bit of that one. But instant tennis.
Will help you introduce someone new to tennis. You don't have to be a professional to teach a newcomer the basics of the game. Dennis Vandermeer will show you the steps by teaching them to Kate, a beginner, and Rich, a more experienced player.
Today I'm going to show Rich how he can practice with Kate, and in a space of 30 or 40 minutes, he can go through all the progressions of fundamentals, and not just learn it, but to use them, actually use them on the court. Sure, we'll use them in a small area, but with this base, she can expand the area in the court and actually learn the ball. Send to the side of the ball like this. Rick, you do the same thing over there. Now the two of you walk forward and just press against each other's rackets. You'll notice what happens. As Kate starts to squeeze the racket to get more power, she shifts the grip to a forehand grip. And that's the best way to learn. She learns by herself. Now, back up a little bit. Now this is the grip you're going to use. And now what you're going to do, Kate, is you're going to bump the ball on Richard's side, you're going to bump the ball on Kate's side. Up in the air, go for a direction. Bump it up, softly, up. Move your feet very, doesn't matter, try again, softly. Up towards his ball, target ball, softly. Move your feet. Yes, that's it.
The 4 easy steps to learn the forehand volley.
All right. Now, Kate, up the piano, and kiss the racket again. Very important tip. Remember, you don't want to stand opposite your partner, the hand and racket opposite each other. Okay, now, feed the ball, drop the ball on the ground. That's it. Very good. One more time. Drop it on the ground and try and touch it. All right, Kate. Now, the next exercise. Now, you have a bigger hand. You see, now there's no way to miss. Hold the racket like this. And now, volley from here. There we go. And now keep it going. Yes. All right. Now, slide down a bit further.
Okay, that was 7 minutes of Dennis. Big hands for Dennis, guys. So my question is, have you seen this, in kids tennis? Have you seen this in the progression of teaching someone to handle the ball? Of course, and this is 30 years ago. So we have done it before. We have tried everything, but it's really important that we all try to find out, what are we trying to achieve? And I think that, if you look at this, and do we change, or are we coaching differently? And, I'm going to study at NTNU, and the coaches there said that, it's going from like sandwich approach, where you go, a feedback, a positive feedback, then a constructive feedback, and a positive again. Then it went to 3 times positive to 1. And then it went to 5 positive to 1, constructive feedback. But now they're talking about 9 to 1. So it's really important that we think that, the way we are coaching, it must be different because the generation are different. You have to remember that it's different. They need positive, and like we heard yesterday, when the computer games, when they make this, they never really are, it was a mistake and you have to start over again. No, there's like seconds after you are there and you can still move on. So we have to think that way. I believe in this. That if you do great coaching or good coaching, it must have an instant improvement. But always, what's next? And you can learn everything in life if you do it with progressions. But we have a tendency to rush through, those early ages, and you say, well, we are in a hurry. So why are you in a hurry? You meet someone with a kid that are 12, and you said, we're in a hurry, we need points, No, just relax. But people don't do that. Even if you tell them, they don't. So instead of learning things, in the best way, when we know there are certain things that need to be learned before you do other things, we are just rushing. Instead of taking our time, saying, well, do this, make this happen, now go to the next step. Can you do this? Then go to the next step. But it's so hard, because we all feel that we are in a hurry. And we think that, if you're just getting older, that backhand grip will get right. No. Guys, the more you skip those details, the harder it is to change. So we have to, in one way, understand that right now we have to make them better. Right now, they have to feel. And it doesn't necessarily need to be attracted to the result that I'm playing winning. Because like I said yesterday, it's not winning people are It's the feeling that you have. It's the feeling of improvement. So why do they go? You know, Erlend at Asker Fitness, you know, saying, Øivind, you did a good job today. And it looks like you took on some weight. Oh, yeah. You fly out the door. And you want to come back. You want to come back because this guy gave you positive feedback. But if you say, oh, today you were so bad. You look fat, you look lazy, you do everything. You say, I'm not coming back there. For sure. So we have to understand that the way we are coaching and give that feeling of immediate feedback and improvement, it also have to be what's next. And we are going to do that on the court with some of you, and we are going to see this. And I hope that some of you, if you don't do it, try to do it on Monday. Because, you know, it's really, this is what we do. We try to motivate everyone to make them stay in the game. And motivation is a big factor. How do we do that? And I will show you in a, you know, end up with not only soft skills, but I will show you the hard skills. What does that mean? So when you're on the court, what does it mean to do this, to get the motivation? It's not only about soft skills. Of course, good to have soft skills, but it also had to be some hard skills. What does it really mean to feel that you are improving on a tennis court? So I have 7 steps in great coaching that I think is good, and the first one is really this. You have to set the energy level. When they walk in the door, you have to meet them in the door, and you have to make sure that you set the energy level. And we learned this from, you know, people being actors, going to the theater, doing the same play every night. Do you see them like after 1 month they say, I'm so tired and sick of this play, so I just hang around? So they ask actors, what do you do to make, you know, to play the same and even better? So Sir Winston Olivier played King Lear for thousands of times. So people say, how come that you are better now than 10 years ago? Because I open behind the stage, I open out and see out in the theater, and I see people for the first time there with their new dresses, and they are there for the first time. So I cannot say I've done it 1,000 times and I give a shit. And that's how you have to do it. You have to meet them in the door with that energy. Thank you for being here, and make sure that they feel that you are there for them immediately. And if you are tired, and I work with, of course, we are tired sometimes. What do you do? Never walk the line. When you are tired after 6-7 hours on the court, and I hope some of the level 3 guys that are here, that we are meeting on Thursday, because when we videotape you on Thursday, if you are walking the line, you are dead. You have to go over again. Level 3. No. But you're not going to do that. So what do you do? Tell the person next to you, what do you do when you're really tired after many hours on the court? Go. 1 minute. Talk to someone.
Så du ikke har logoer i bakgrunnen, ikke bare sånn søppelkasser eller tomme tribuner.
Ikke sant?
Ja.
I think that's about 1 minute. So anyone, what do you do when you start to be really tired? Yeah. He said, play. You're playing. You know, time is flying. The minute you're on the sideline and you are watching them play, my goodness, you watch 40 minutes left. What's wrong? It must be something wrong here. You know, what's wrong? No, but the minute you play. And you know what? When they go back for dinner at night, they talk about you. And they say, how was practice today? Great. You know what? I played with my coach. So it's a big misunderstanding that we think that we walk the line is the way to go. Guys, you have to start playing. You cannot walk the line. Why Boris Becker is on the sideline when he was coaching Djokovic is because he can't play with him. Don't copy that part. Copy playing the game. They will see the energy level. They will learn from you hitting the ball. And you set the energy level saying, hey, I want to play. Let's get going. We are playing. The next step I always do, I try to, or not try. What's here? Is it the battery here coming? It must be something, huh? Aslak. It's in the cloud. So we have to do. All right, thank you, Aslak. Applause for him. Okay, no, you have to bring them on safe ground. You know, people are sometimes a little bit anxious. So make sure that you start with what they are capable of doing. So it's really easy, by the way, because we always talk about, you know, that you have different levels on the court. We all do that. You know, we have 4, 6, and suddenly we have different levels. But what do? You start them where everyone can handle and feel comfortable. So you bring them there to make sure that all of them are feeling that I master what we're doing. If you have someone just showing off and the other one say, okay, you know, the lesson is over. Because they are immediately getting nervous. They are immediately not able to think that they will learn anything because all they are doing is like trying in an emergency to get the ball back. But what you do is like you change the distance to the net, you slow down, you do something to make it happen. So, and sometimes ask them what they want to do, especially the group that we think is toughest one to handle, the 13 to 19. You know, ask them sometimes what you want to do. But try to persuade them, try to say, hey, you know what, I was watching you play, and this is what I think you should do. So instead of saying, okay, it's all up to them, try to persuade them to say, well, couldn't it be better to maybe find out what is necessary right now? And you probably say that I forgot technology here. No, this is where you use technology. Because if you're a modern coach, you also want to say, hey, I got some pictures from last time I was at the tournament. And here is what I think you should do a little bit more. Look at the footwork. Look at the backswing. Look at the balance. Do a few things and say, shouldn't we work on this? So you try to build in from evidence that this is what you probably should do. So then you can introduce new elements. And in these new elements, it is really important to have a variation. So if you don't just go forehand cross court and that's it, you know, we have to do a better job in planning and making sure that we have a variety of different exercises. And I showed the group, we had a meeting on Thursday, level 3 course. A few years ago we went to Paris and we were coming down to practice underneath court number 1 at Roland Garros. Anyone here that was here? Yeah, okay, not level 1, but the level 3 course. No, okay, so it was Øivind, Alvar and few. Okay, so we were there and they were practicing backhands. And they said that we are going to practice backhands on this player. So we say, well, you know, in your head, you know, it's like warm up, you do all these things, and after 90 minutes, you probably have been practicing half an hour backhands. But this guy, Hugo, excellent coach, he started with backhand and ended with backhand. 90-minute backhands. But it was 12 different variations getting the backhand better. So when you introduce new elements, you have to understand that, you know, to make them occupied and to make them concentrated, you have to change, you know, every 3 minutes. There must be a new thing. And you have to plan. You have to plan that part. Because if you do the same thing over again, they lose concentration and it's not the best. When you practice this new part, make observations and give every one of them, of course, to see what do they do. If you tell everyone the same, you know that you're not doing your job. And of course, give them one exercise or task in a positive way. And we are going to talk about that later. At the end, what is the takeaway from this lesson? What is homework? And what do you really then have to do is like make a note on the technical app. There is a assessment sheet, you know, that was and you open that when they are leaving and you say, you make a small note. And you say, this is what we did last time. So some of you will say, oh, it's too much work. No, with technology and the way I do it, I'm not doing what I normally did. Had to go back home and you had to figure out, you know, what did I do and everything. You do everything there, right there on the court. With technology, make notes, give feedback, do videos, send out and do all that stuff. So that's the 7 steps that I do even if I, you know, doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter how many players. But it's a little bit tougher if you have more players, of course. Because quality beats quantity. Parents don't think that. They just look at how many hours do they play. So if you play and you just hang around and you don't, you know, really get the ball going, you can play 200 balls an hour. And then you need many hours. But you can also hit 800 balls. So the quality of it's so much more important than the quantity. We have heard, of course, that you need, you know, a lot of hours on the court, but you can also play against the wall. You can play with a friend, you can play alone. You don't need instruction all the time. In parents' meeting, I always ask this, what do you think your kid need? Do they need a little bit of teaching and a lot of trying themselves? Or the other way around? Do they need a lot of instruction where they're told what to do and almost no play on their own? And every one of you that become as good as you can be, we know what you did. You were practicing on your own. I always tell kids that if you see a coach around you every time you play, you will not get as good as you can be. Because if you wait for the feedback from outside, you are not learning, guys. You learn if you know how to give yourself feedback so you can change. So in open skill sport, you need to make a decision. The ball comes, you see it's a forehand, you make a decision hitting forehand, you execute the forehand, And now if you ask Espen, can you tell me what was going on? I'm not learning anything. But the minute I do the feedback myself, well, I try this, I hit the forehand, and I'm trying to hit the ball down the line, inside. So I hit the ball, so I decided, I execute, I hit the ball, and I said, what's wrong, Espen? And he says, yeah, well, I need spin to keep the ball in the court. Well, no. All you have to make them understand is, where did the ball go? So Espen can say, where did the ball go? The ball went out. Okay, so Espen say, what do you do now? Well, you can slow down. So I said, next time I do that, maybe I slow down. Another way I say, well, if you spin the ball more, yes, that's also one way to keep the ball. But that's something you have to learn yourself. I'm not talking now about 6, 7-year-olds. Then you can do more instruction. But when you get into 13, they played for some time, now you have to make sure that they learn how to give themselves feedback. Because otherwise they will not learn it. They will not learn. That's why you have to tell parents, no, I give them a task and now they have to practice until next time they're here. Because they have to learn to give themselves feedback. Okay, 1 minute. And it's not coffee break, but it's 1 minute where you talk to a neighbor and see, what do you think? Do you do that enough? About giving them the opportunity to give themselves biofeedback, saying, what happened after I hit the ball? 1 minute. Wow. Yeah. Ja.
Hvis du klarer å bli ferdig til 5:12.
Nei, jeg er ferdig på det.
Ja, fordi det er jo Tina skal jo ha foreldre måtte bli her.
Ja. Okay, good. So, it was not an assessment, it was just a reflection, and I could drink a little bit of water. Okay, are we ready for a little bit more? Not too much, a little bit more, okay? Just we're gonna hit some balls in a few minutes, okay? But so when we then on a daily basis, reflect, we sit back in the car and you say, well, today was a good day. You probably had a quality time on the court then. You play, you can measure, just a sidetrack right now, but if you do a good job, you will probably get some Christmas card from your player. If you don't do this job well enough, maybe they don't give you a Christmas card. But what I'm saying is that quality means maybe this. Oh. Maybe this is part of quality. I'm not saying it's everything, but this is probably a little bit of what quality means. Because if you go down there and you see purpose, there must be a purpose. If your findings from a tournament see that you have 30% first serves, maybe you should practice first serves. Maybe there's a purpose getting the first serve in. So you have to link something that you feel that they need to the practice. Of course, open-close training. That's on page 95 in the coach's manual. And I say this to everyone, that part is really interesting, because you can go in and out of close training. You see something, and you can bring them to on the side of the court and work on one thing. And then you can go back and see if it works, and you can go in and out of close and open training to make them feel that, you know, you work on small details. Because tennis is details, so maybe that's one. Is the training individualized? Are you giving individualized attention? Or do you say the same to everyone? Just ask yourself that question. Efficient training, how many balls, but it doesn't really have to be, but is it efficient? Is it something that you do that will make them better? And of course, safe environment. Do they have an opportunity, or do you play opprykk nedrykk? It's very unsafe, you know. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but be careful, because, you know, they will not do what you wanted them to do when they're playing points. So if you tell them something, tactically, technically, and the minute they play opprykk nedrykk, they want to win. So what do? Go back to what's comfortable. So be careful about, you know, always competing. All right, so let's get into this. What a nice picture, huh? When is this during the tournament? The first day. Why? Because the grass is green. So it's all about trying to hit the ball in this area. And you have about 43,000 spots you can hit the ball into the singles court. And everything we do, fitness, conditioning, mental training, rackets, all we do are resources to control the ball. But when you think fitness is a goal itself, of course, it's, you know, necessarily don't need to be a better player, because you have to understand that if I can move quicker with balance, I will be able to control the ball better. But how many times did I say, look at the footwork, oh, good footwork, and the ball is in the back fence, I say, oh, great job. No, because the outcome was bad. So we have a tendency to think that talking about things that are indirect consequence for where the ball is going, compared to what is a direct consequence of what is going on. Why is the ball going? So I put up at the end, I will ask my assistant to get on the court. Big hands for Aslak, he likes that. Because ball control. I asked the kids how you know, the ball. How heavy is the ball? 50 some grams. And sometimes it looks like the kids think it's a kilo, because they go like, my goodness, yeah, bah. But I show them this, that you take 2 fingers, the ball comes from my assistant, and you can hit the ball. Okay? So if you hit the ball dead center, you don't really have to grip that hard. It's an off hit, it's a little bit, it's twisting a little bit, but if you just take your racket, the ball is coming from my assistant, and it goes like this. Okay? So you show them that it's not, you don't have to use all your muscles, okay? So ball control. So if you play volley, okay? The good thing about ball control is that if you hit the ball and immediately you feel that I can control the ball to where I want the ball to go, that feeling is great. Don't you think so? Don't you think so? Okay. Because some of us, we didn't feel that when we were young. Because, you know, my I started to play when I was hockey player. And I heard that, keep the ball deep. And I kept the ball deep. The ball was deep. Was the ball deep? And I didn't win one match when I was junior. You know my worst experience? Trained from Oslo to Drammen. Played a match. I had 1 racket. The other guy had 7. I had number 15 on my back because I was then a football player too. This guy had white warm-up, and it was over in 17 minutes. Okay? The good news about losing so fast is that the ticket goes within an hour. So you go back to Oslo with the same ticket. And when your coach never asked you if you were winning or losing, because he was asking, of course, he knew that I was losing. Because I didn't know ball control. I was hitting the ball fast, I was really fast, I hit the ball very dead center, but I couldn't hit the court. So then immediately when you're 20, you start to understand that if I can hit the ball, and the minute I hit the ball, I know where the ball is going. So hit the ball back. So that's the whole point. My job as a coach is to try to make every level understand how to control the ball back. So they feel that it's a Casper or it's a 10-year-old. So ball control, but what do you do when the ball control is not there? That's the trick. Because do you then say, move your feet? Well, I can try. So let's say that I do this. I try to hit Aslak, it's all over there, and Aslak say, Øivind, move the feet. Okay, move my feet. I try to move my feet. So it's something before that. What comes after, if you want ball control, and if you can't have ball control, what is the direct reason why it's not there? Because you don't have racket control. You don't know where the racket is. So that's why we do when they are really young. We want them to have shorter rackets to be able to do this. Because now they feel that they have control of the racket and now they control the ball. We have seen Mike Barrel, and all of you have done this with kids. You can go further back on the racket and you go like this. And now we start to understand where the racket is. The minute we let the racket go, the ball control is gone. So it doesn't matter what level. You just have to make sure that the control is there. So sometimes when you have someone to hit the ball, and you see this. No, don't watch the ball, watch me. What do you do to get racket control? You might ask them to catch the racket. You hit the ball and you ask them to catch the racket, okay? Just to make them slow down and to guide the ball better. So racket control. What is after racket control? Body control. Of course, so you look at all this and say, hey, he can't get, so maybe he's out of balance. Maybe he's over here. Now that will affect racket control. So you go backwards, and then you might get into footwork. I have a friend, very good coach, been working with top 10 players all his life. And he said that, the more people talk about footwork, the richer I'm becoming. Because it's an indirect, and sometimes you look at it, it's obvious, if I'm here, and the ball is over there, oh my goodness. If you don't understand from early age that if the ball is over there, I have to move to get there. But what do you teach them? Are you there at the same time as the ball or before the ball? You are there before the ball. Otherwise you do this. You time the ball and you get there exactly when the ball's there. No, what you do is this. You get there before the ball, up, 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 and now you hit the ball. So footwork is, of course, very, very important. But to teach this from the very end. So my philosophy is this, that if you let kids play without form, if you let them just say, they have one forehand, the ball is right at them, they hit one forehand here, the ball is over here, they lean over and they play another one, the ball is high, they go here, so they find a new forehand every time. It will take decades to make it work. But if you tell kids, this is your forehand, this is my forehand, this is my forehand. So now the ball is right at me, assistant. I move to the side and hit. The ball is over here, I run over here, and I did the same thing. That's the quick way of making sure that you understand footwork to keep the form. So if they are in an emergency 8 out of 10 times, it takes forever to be a tennis player. But if you say, hey, try 8 out of 10 times to hit your forehand, they will move their feet. Is that understood? All right, last one, last thing. Andreas? Okay, so because topspin can give you ball control. So if that's the case, if you're at a higher level and you hit the ball like this, so you hit the ball like this, and you, oh, good forehand. Okay, you hit the ball like this, oh, another good forehand. But suddenly you see that the ball is in the net. Now you have to say, ball control, because your racket speed is so high, maybe you should add a little bit more spin. So then you have to go, boom, to get ball control, keeping the ball within inside the baseline. All right. I see you're hungry now, so you know it's lunch very soon. But one more thing. One more thing. Energy and attitude. If you can't persuade them to work hard, to go out there and try their best, you know, they will not do anything of this. And at the end, they will not have ball control. But don't think that you just say, footwork. That's just one thing to work on when you see that the ball is not going where they want the ball to go.
Could you change footwork to positioning instead?
Hmm?
Could you change like footwork to positioning?
Yes. So, of course, I can go another day with this. But of course, it's not one footwork. It's not one stance. But what I see these days, I see that because of even on the junior level, the ball is coming so fast that if you think that it's one way, and you'd say, there's one way, like I said earlier today, that it's one way, I think that we had to consider and see, because I like to say, hey, you know what? When you're out here, you have to be able to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to maybe do this. But if you just do one thing, you limit them. But in the beginning, you let them have one base, and then you build out of that one. But that's a little bit of a longer chapter. Guys, I hope that you go back on Monday and try a little bit of this. Set the energy level. Look at the ball control. Ask them if they can figure out themselves what is happening to make them give themselves feedback, and you know, you will stay in the game as long as I have. Because it's fun. It's so much fun when you are on the court and you see kids go, yes, I did it. Or you see some people that have had heart diseases, and you see, my God, I'm getting back in shape because you showed me with the red ball how to rally back and forth. And my doctor is really proud of my progressions. It's up to you guys. Like we talked about yesterday. It's how we think, it's what we do. But again, you are measured based on the fact that you're on the stage and people see it immediately. It takes 7 seconds to get the first impression, by the way. So make sure that you get a good impression every time, because you are in control of that. Thank you guys, now it's lunch. But before that,